Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution allows Congress to limit jurisdiction, and that's what we're doing. So I have legislation that would limit the jurisdiction of federal district courts to only the litigants before them and the case before them, so you couldn't issue nationwide injunctions, Harris. We're talking about impeachment. We're talking about defunding certain courts and jurisdictional limitation on courts and the areas that they can rule in. But I want to point out something. Most people think that federal judges have lifetime tenure. Everybody is told that, but that's not accurate. Article 3, Section 1 is very clear that they only get to have their job during a tenure of good, and this is the quote, good behavior. And when you're abusing your power for political purposes, you have violated that clause, and you are subject to termination from your job as a federal judge. And that doesn't even require impeachment, Harris. What it requires is Congress to basically issue a resolution saying this judge is acting outside of his scope of conduct. He's engaged in misconduct and is not engaged in good conduct right now.
Insiders start us off. Ellie, when you look back at Judge Boasberg's rulings, some people...
Fake news CNN. And where is her lips? Somebody please tell me, where is her lips? Fake news CNN.
Start us off. Ellie, when you look back at Judge Boasberg's rulings, some people have also mentioned he's also a pretty close friend of, you may know him, Brett Kavanaugh, Trump's Supreme Court justice that he picked. They were roommates. They still go on trips together. Obviously, that doesn't dictate how he's going to rule, but it does speak to, the nature of what Jeff Zeleny was getting at, is how do you determine who's a judge you don't like? Is it just because they rule against you?
Well, that seems to be the rule with the Trump administration. But let's remember, this judge has...
Fake news CNN. These CNN hack activists. Smug.
Has been, if anything, remarkably patient and solicitous with Trump's DOJ. I mean, I've been watching what DOJ has been doing, the way they've been responding to this judge over the last 3 days, with awe and astonishment. I mean, this is now the third consecutive day the judge has said, I want specific details from you, Justice Department. And they have responded by saying, we'll give you a little bit, but no, you don't need the rest of that. We're not giving that to you. I'm halfway horrified by this as a DOJ alum. I'm halfway, I guess, impressed. I mean, they're sort of really standing up to him. Today, they said to this judge, you are beating a dead horse. In writing, they said that to the judge. I mean, that is unimaginable as a DOJ alum. I guess I've fantasized about saying that to a judge, but I would never say it out loud. And yet this judge continues to give them more time. The other thing is, what's the big ruling that the judge has made here that's apparently so contrary to the Trump administration? All he has said is, let's try to pause here so I can take a couple days and work through this complicated legal issue. He hasn't actually even ruled against them yet this response.
Yeah, it's just temporary. He might actually agree with them on the underlying issues here. What did you make of Attorney General Pam Bondi saying, coming out here, he's asking all these questions? I mean, isn't that how this works with the judiciary?
Judges like to ask questions. It's kind of their job, some would say. And look, I've been in front of Judge Boasberg. I've argued in front of him. I've had cases in front of him.
Is he a radical leftist?
He's not. He's a smart, thoughtful judge. The last time he ruled in my favor, so he's smart. He's good. But I will say this. I think what Bonnie's saying, that he shouldn't be asking these questions, this gets to the administration's fundamental legal point here, which is simply that federal judges don't have a role to play when it comes to these types of immigration removals. I'm not saying that's ultimately the correct legal position. The Supreme Court presumably will sort that out. But the administration, the way they see this is akin to a federal judge trying to micromanage a president in his, putting troops on the battlefield or organizing a war, fighting a war, that judges just don't have any role to play. I think Judge Boasberg certainly sees it differently. And again, the Supreme Court ultimately will be the arbitrator of precisely what role, if any, federal judges have to play in this whole scheme.
Well, and to Ellie's point, this doesn't so much have to do...
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. When you try to we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Let me read this out loud and clear. Our president says that this judge is doing everything in his power to usurp or seize the power of the presidency. Or just put it like that. I got to make it similar. You know, Trump using those very, you know, beautiful words. Beautiful. He would say beautiful words. He is a local unknown judge, a grandstander looking for publicity, and cannot be for any other reason because his rulings are so ridiculous. Save America. You know. Trump also says no district court judge or any judge can assume the duties of the president of the United States. Only crime and chaos would result. Make America great again. If a judge can outrank the president, we don't have a country. God. But what's going on, family? Big things are happening right now, man. We're bringing you the best updates, keeping it real. It's an absolute disgrace. People have lost their mind. People are digging, putting their hand in their butt, wiping it on Tesla. They have Tesla derangement syndrome. Trump derangement syndrome is at a new strand. We're looking at like stage 25. I don't know. They got Musk derangement syndrome, you know, but we just keep winning. We just gonna keep winning. I keep telling you, we just gonna keep winning. You know, it's all gonna work out now. See what Julie Kelly talking about, what they got going on over here. But this judge, man, is ridiculous. A lot of things happen with the DOJ. It's happening right now in real time, man.
So I also listened to the hearing today before Judge Boasberg. It was about an hour and a half. He opened the hearing by blasting the Department of Justice, saying that their responses to him have been intemperate and disrespectful. And
put the judge on the plane. Send his to El Salvador. That's what I say. They say, Rick, sir, please, Rick, calm down. It's Friday. We almost to the weekend. Don't raise your blood pressure, sir. Rick, we are almost to the weekend. Calm down, sir. Put the judge on the plane. Put that other judge on the plane. Put the governor on the plane. Put the mayor on the plane. Yeah. They love the criminals so much. They love criminal illegal aliens so much. Put they on the plane. Put the women on the spew on the plane. Take some of them CNN co-hosts. Take the CNN panel, except for Scott Jennings, and throw them on the plane. I'm just saying. They say, Rick, sir, calm down, sir.
And that he has, this is something he rarely sees in responses by the government. So he is really offended at some of the words that the DOJ has used, while at the same time going out of his way, extrajudicial steps to protect what he described today as the due process rights of illegal Venezuelans who are here and suspected members of what has been designated a foreign terrorist organization, TDA. So he repeatedly condemned the DOJ, accused them of not being forthcoming with him, said that they have not been cooperative. At one point, he scolded the DOJ attorney, and Boasberg said, you know, I tell my clerks when they leave my office to go out into the world that the one thing that they really have is their integrity and their reputation. And I think this is something that you need to remind yourself of, he said to the DOJ attorney. Because, of course, Steve, what he's trying to do is set up this contempt trap that we've been talking about all week, whether those two flights that took off during the hearing that began at 5 o'clock, whether those flights were able to be turned around, explanation as to why they were not turned around, which he gave in a weird verbal order. He said at about 6:48 on Saturday night. The flights had already left Texas an hour beforehand. But also then this third flight that took off after he posted his minute order. And what he seems to want to do is not just find someone in contempt of his order, but then also establish due process.
Tell the plane come back and pick him up let him get on the plane, and then take back off and leave again. That's what should have happened. Yeah, y'all come on back, come pick Judge up, and then leave with his on the plane. Enjoy the ride, sir.
Relief for these Venezuelans accused of being members of TDA. So they make sure that they have their rights covered, something he was not too concerned about in 70-plus J6 cases that he handled.
This is heading. He did give them to the 25th, though, to say if they were going to exert not executive privilege, but State Secrets Act. Is that correct?
Privilege, state secret privilege, correct. That's something that the Department of Justice, in a filing this week, suggested that they said that they were considering to keep these granular details about these flights away from Jeb Boasberg. He does not need to know the details of these flights, where they landed, who was on them, who directed them, was anyone taken into custody. He doesn't need to know that information. And the DOJ has told him, we have abided by your orders. That's not enough for him. So what he asked for today, Steve, that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, as if he doesn't have more important things to do, had to sign a sworn statement filed before Judge Boasberg this morning, saying that, yes, confirming there are cabinet level discussions about invoking state secret privilege to keep this national security and foreign policy decisions away from this reckless partisan hack, Jeb Boasberg.
Do you think that the effort that's out there publicly to impeach him has gotten to this guy? That's why he's dug in even harder, because both sides seem implacable, right? There's a gulf there. You can see it, and it only gets deeper every day. It may not get wider, but it's getting deeper.
Well, he did say, because, of course, the public line has now been reopened for all of these proceedings. They were closed for 3 years during J6 trials and hearings, but all of a sudden now the public, including reporters like myself, can phone in and listen to what's happening in the courtrooms. And he did say at one point, I understand that there is great, unusual public interest in this case. And he was asking the DOJ to confirm that basically he's not defending all terrorists. He just has concerns about this certain proclamation by the president and who it specifically covers. So he's
what that sounds like, boy.
Well aware of the bad press that he's getting, but look, he does not care. He does not. He doesn't even care if he's reversed by the D.C. Circuit Court, because the oral arguments in this case before the appellate court are Monday afternoon.
There it is.